Homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming. Homage to Master Sakya Zhengkong. Homage to the 16th Dharma King Karmapa. And homage to Master Dubten Darji. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of Homa, the Yamantaka. Hong Pei Om Tri Karupa Hong Kan Soha. Sumu Tubten Siddhi Rinpoche, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, temple directors, all disciples present here and over the internet, and our guests of honors today from the North Coordination Council and the Secretary General Ambassador Liao from TACO and Mrs. Liao, Dharma Sister Judy, and the Chief Secretary of the Taiwan government, Mr. Zheng Peifu, the legislators Cai Chi-chang's representative, Ms. Chen Hui-mi, the Councillor for Kaohsiung City, Xi Hui-yu's representative, the PP Party of Tainan Cities, the head chief's Chai Wang-chuan's representative, Professor Wang Jingxian, Professor Wang, Professor Wang Yaozun, Professor Wang Li, Professor Lin Wenqin, Professor Lin Xiuju, Professor Hong Xinyu, Dr. You Jiangcheng, Professor Cai Guoyu, Professor Gu Haoxiang, Professor Ye Suwen, Dr. Liang Caofan, and the medical doctor Lin Jun'an from Zhongshan Medical University's affiliated plastic surgery departments, the head doctor, Dr. Chen. From the town of Miaoli, the Hong Dental Clinic Association's the head dentist, Dr. Hong. The sand sculpture artist, Mr. Wang. And Catolia Food accompanies the CEO, Ms. Chen, Su Chen. And a businessman from Indonesia, Ms. Wu Lihua and her family. University Mr. Zhu Jinsui and Mrs. Zhu. From Lotus Light Charitable Society of Taiwan, the President Wu. Producers for the CTI TV for Gini Tiansang Xinten, Mr. Rebecca Shuyachi. For the TV programs, the Platform Sutras and Direct Messages of Tantrayana, the producers Master Lian Yue and the host Dharma Sister Pei Jun. Good afternoon. How do you do? In Mandarin, Taiwanese, and Cantonese. Indonesian and Malay. Selamat siang. Selamat petang.
Good afternoon. Domo konnichiwa.
In English, Japanese,
Hola, amigo.
Spanish,
Kamsahamnida.
Korean,
Sawadika.
Thai.
大家好。
How are you?
Thank you for coming. And next week, see you soon.
Thank you for coming. Oh.
那我们做这个发芽 opening。今天
We perform
是大威德金刚。
The fire offering today is that of Yamantaka.
那 fire 就是火 ，offering 就是供养，这个是火供。
So,
大威德金刚明码的火供
Ho is fire, offering
是
is
非
gong.
常微妙的。
And the Yamantaka fire offering is always tremendous. And the Dharma power is incredible.
师尊的这个生肖是属鸡。
And Grandmaster's Chinese zodiac is that of a rooster.
本来我们到日本去旅游的时候，
And when we traveled to Japan, at the temples there,
属鸡的本尊是不动明王。
they said that for the zodiac roosters, the protector would be Akalanata.
那日本在东命里面，
And because
属鸡的
Japan
那我就修
is related to the Japanese Tantrayana, and because it said it's Akalanata, so I started to practice Akalanata Dharma practice. So I chanted Akalanata's mantra continually, visualizing Akalanata's sword, and entered into samadhi, invoking Akalanata, the emanation of Vairocana, for his blessings. And I chanted for a long time and didn't gain any spiritual responses or yogic responses. But I still enshrine Akalanata. As soon as I opened the door to my house, I saw Akalanata and his two attendants. Every day I paid homage to them 20 times. As soon as I entered into the door, that's the shrine of Akalanata. I'm still respectful toward him, although I didn't feel any yogic response with him. And then later on, one day, after visiting Nepal, we've got a statue of Yamantaka. Actually, it's a tanka, Yamantaka's tanka, and we hang it at the tantric quarter in Seattle in my own room. And I recited Yamantaka's mantra. So normally I recite Yamantaka, and he looked really dignified, very precious, very dignified. And he had lots of heads, 6 faces, and 6 arms and 6 legs, or one with 9 faces, 36 arms and 36 legs. They're all different kinds. There's one that's 13 deities in one. So there are many arms and legs, and lots of legs. It's easy to talk about many arms. The arms, can move, but with so many legs, how can you walk? With one leg moving forward and 2 legs moving backward? Maybe I think too much. So however you want to walk, you walk. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about how Yamantaka would walk. So at that time, I recited Yamantaka's mantra in my own room. And wow. It turned out Yamantaka entered into my body, and both my arms and my legs were trembling. It's like you're it's like keep moving. The legs kept moving, and the arms kept moving and dancing. And Yamantaka continually descending and entering into my body. And I felt that around me is ocean. And my hands are moving and flying like Yamantaka's arms, dancing and moving, creating huge waves in the ocean. And all the ocean is moving and traveling, and the dragons' palaces were being moved. So it's really moving very strongly. That was that kind of feeling, perception. It was incredible. So I became Yamantaka. So when Yamantaka entered into your body, you felt like you're Yamantaka and you move like Yamantaka. I felt like a transformer. And the legs really could move, run really fast. Like within a minute, you could jump so many times.
有那一种接受，我就结果大德金刚在心里，我跟他心灵上。
So that's how my responses to Yamantaka, and then I felt that he must be my yidam.
从此以后
So from then on, I regarded Yamantaka as my yidam. How come Yamantaka is my yidam? My zodiac is rooster. It should be Akalanata, not Yamantaka. It turned out Yamantaka, the one that appeared. And later on I knew that Amitabha and Manjushri Bodhisattva, and then Yamantaka, the Yama king, is of one line. So that's like a one one system from Amitabha to Manjushri to Yamantaka to Yama King. And because I am Amitabha Buddha, of course my protector would be Yamantaka. And for Manjushri Bodhisattva, in my past lives, when I was the king of Shambhala, my father was Manjushri Bodhisattva. The father is Manjushri and the son is the Lotus King. So Manjushri Bodhisattva is like my father. That's the wisdom deity. That's from the past life. So Amitabha is like the grandfather. And so there is this order. And Yamantaka is due to Manjushri Bodhisattva entering into the body of the Yama King and transformed to become Yamantaka. So in Tibetan Tantrayana, the Yama King has two horns, looks like the Yama King. Some people would mistake them because in Tibetan Tantrayana, the one that rides on an ox and also having the ox horn on their heads, and one hand is holding a scepter, that's the Yama King. Don't mistake him for Yamantaka, because the Yama King is the Yama King and Yamantaka is Yamantaka. They look alike because at one time the Yama King casts a lot of spells that kill a lot of beings. So Manjushri Bodhisattva, in order to salvage these beings, Manjushri entered into the body of Yama King and transformed to become Yamantaka. So he's also called the one who subdued Yama King. That's why it's called Yamantaka. He had subdued Yama King, and he could let all beings have long lifespan, longevity. And the mudra for Yamantaka, let me show you. And the short mantra,
Yamataka Hom Pe Om Chri Karalupa Hom Kan Swaha.
That's the mantras, and you visualize the single form Yamantaka, or with multiple faces, multiple arms and legs. So that's my affinity with Yamantaka. So there is the so-called altar of the 13 deities of Yamantaka, and he has truly great power. And the symbols for the 9 faces, meaning the 9 vehicles of obtaining the sutras, and the 34 arms representing together with body, speech and mind is the 37 ways, and the 16 legs representing the 16 empty natures, and the wrathful look represents subduing, the subjugation, and with compassion and purity. So Yamantaka is my root protector. So most people that have Yidam, Amitabha Yidams, their protectors is Yamantaka. So because I gained spiritual response with Yamantaka, I invoke him to be my root protector. And Yamantaka in Japanese Tantrayana is slightly different from the Yamantaka of Tibetan Tantrayana. The look is slightly different. And for us, primarily would be that of the Tibetan Tantrayana. A disciple asked me, Grandmaster, you have spoken a lot about great perfection Dharma, and do we need to perform asceticism in great perfection, which is with lots of hardships? That's the questions. And my answer is, so in great perfection, there is equality and there is no discrimination. It is completely pure, like the clear sky. So there isn't anything that's called the so-called asceticism, or practicing without suffering, or hardships. But when we take a look, the high adepts of the past, for example, Tilopa, for Tilopa, in seeking the spiritual cultivation, he had gone through hardships because he was originally a prince or a king. And then later on, he did a very hard labor, like he was grinding sesame seeds. And he was grinding the sesame seeds, white and black sesame seeds, manually with hands, and to produce the sesame oil. So he performed this hard labor. And his life was like, in the daytime he grinds sesame seeds, and at night in India he went to the brothels. And that was of the lowest class. He went there to serve the prostitutes. So he went to the brothels to serve the prostitutes. And for a total of 12 years. So for 12 years, he was serving the prostitutes in the brothels. And he even getting customers for the prostitutes. And he also had to do Dharma practices. So Tilopa had been trained very hard. And the same with Naropa. Tilopa's disciple Naropa also had gone through hardships. Naropa was a prince. And when Tilopa was teaching Naropa, he inflicted lots of suffering upon Naropa. And he had 12 great hardships and 12 minor hardships. That's Naropa. And Naropa's disciple is better. He did not suffer very much. And that was Marpa of Tibet. Because he was a successful businessman. He had lands and properties and money, and he went to India to seek his teacher, and he found Naropa. And he was rich, and he made offerings of lots of gold, because maybe gold is quite effective, so he didn't have to suffer very much. And Naropa transmitted lots of Buddha Dharma to Marba. So, upon receiving the Dharma text from Naropa, he returned to Tibet and researched those Dharma texts, Dharma teachings, including the 6 yogas of Naropa, and also the Mahamudras, the Ganga Mahamudras, and the Chandra Kirti Mahamudras. He was married and he had 9 children, and who knows how many wives. We don't care. He had 9 children, and he was a successful businessman, and he did not have to suffer. So every individual is different. Tilopa and Naropa had to suffer, but Marpa did not. And his disciple Milarepa also had to suffer lots of hardships. At that time, when Milarepa received the trainings by Marpa, Marpa asking him to build houses, asked him to build a round house. After it was completely built, the teacher asked him to take it apart, and he break it down all by himself, and then asked him to build a triangular house. So he built the house. After it's completed, the teacher asked him to take it down. So he took it down, and then asked him to build a semi-circular house, and he did it, and asked him to take it down, and then asked him to build a square house. And after it's complete, they asked him to take it apart again. So all by himself, he built houses. Every day he was moving the rocks and the blocks and all that hard labors until all his skin was being torn and almost gone. He's almost dead. So Milarepa performed this lots of hardships and hard trainings by Marpa. Only at the end, Marpa transmitted to Milarepa the Buddha Dharma. So Milarepa, after receiving the Dharma transmission, he continued to perform asceticism. He went deep into the mountains, in the caves, and no clothes. It's not that he doesn't wear any clothes, because the clothes were all rotten. And his food was very simple. He just ate nettle leaves. He just ate that until his body turned green. And that is true, because when we eat, say, lots of carrots, our skin would turn carrot color. And Milarepa ate lots of the nettle leaves, and he turned green. So he became the green thunderbolt. It's actually a kind of food. It's a robot, a giant. It's like a food brand in Taiwan. So Milarepa's spiritual cultivation is filled with hardships. He had no clothing, no food. He lived in caves, and he walked on foot. And he had very high attainments in the white sect Kagyupa. He had attainments in the inner fire practices, Tumo practice. And Qizong was said by someone in Tibet or Nepal that he's also an emanation of Milarepa. And there are many other things. Professor Zhang Chengji wrote a biography on Milarepa, and this Professor Zhang was also a disciple of Grandmaster Lu. And he is a son-in-law of Yi Youren. And Yi Youren reprimanded his son-in-law. If you followed me, you would have some positions, official positions, whether it's high or low. You're a PhD. But instead, you studied Tantric Buddhism, because this Professor Zhang loved to study Tantrayana. At the Zhanghua, the Bagua mountain, there was a house, an independent house, and he asked me to look at the house's feng shui. So that's why I know him. And he asked for spiritual cultivation, so I help him. And then he asked for refuge, so I give him the refuge initiation and blessings to this Professor Zhang Chengji. So this Professor Zhang Chengji is a true Buddha disciple. It's my disciple. My last house in Taiwan, at the Jingwu Villas, and he received the refuge, blessings and empowerments at that house over there. So the biography of Milarepa was translated by him, and the fact that Milarepa is widely known in the Chinese speakings was also due to his credit. And then Milarepa's disciple is Gampopa. He studied Buddha Dharma from Milarepa. Gampopa is the Dharma prince of Milarepa. It's for the lineage. And he was an ordained monk. He did the Dharma practices for a monk is slightly different from the Dharma practices of a yogi. And Gampopa really desire the practices of a yogi. So he went to Milarepa to learn in the mountains, and they came down the mountain together with Milarepa. And when they reached a bridge, Gampopa asked Milarepa, "Is there a fifth instruction, the most important fifth instruction that you'd like to teach me?" So Milarepa took off his clothing. That's my fifth instruction. And when Gampopa saw that, there are all scars and marks on Milarepa's skins. There was from all the hardships. I don't know who knows how many years he built and took down those houses before his teacher taught him Buddha Dharma. That's how his diligence was. And my attainment was due to the hard trainings given by the teacher. So Gampopa understood and moved that attainments had to be through hardships. So he lived the life in a sangha, and that's also not easy. So see, every individual is different, from Tilopa to Naropa to Marpa, Milarepa, Gampopa. So this is the lineage of Mahamudra, several of these patriarchs or lineage gurus. Some is enjoying a good life with having lots of wives, children, and businesses. There's some that had to go through lots of hardships. There's some that had to suffer a lot, and there's some that had to perform lots of labors. But look at the attainments. See, like when Tilopa, when he had attainment at that time when Narupa sick him, he happened to caught a fish, and with a snap, the fish head was broken, and he was eating the fish. So that's why his painting right now is his hand is holding a fish, and he snapped apart the head, and he ate the remaining part of the fish. So he was really eating sashimi, a raw fish. So, but by breaking apart the head of the fish, he actually bardo delivered the soul of the fish to the Western paradise. So, for the high adepts, the one with attainments are different. So he was at the brothels serving the prostitutes for 12 years. And the hardships, the sufferings that he had to go through is really tremendous. And he was being shoved and pushed and shoved all over the place. See, at every New Year, I would ask Qizong to sing the Mahamudra praise, and he was invoking the lineage gurus of this Kagyupa. So those who had endured lots of hardships, they are those who had enjoyed good life like Marpa, and Gampopa did not suffer lots of hardships, but he lived a real simple and pure life in the Sangha. And for Marpa, he had wife and 9 children and lots of properties and lands, and he was a rich man of that place. So even the wealthy, rich people can also have attainments in their spiritual cultivations, and those who suffered hardships too can have attainments in the spiritual cultivations. That's why I told my disciples, anything is fine. You want to perform asceticism, you want to enjoy your spiritual cultivations, you want to do it with lots of money, anything is fine. Any way you can still attain fruitions. Doesn't matter what your careers or your lives are, you have the same chance for attainments in spiritual cultivations. Some people ask, I'm a butcher, can I have attainment? And in Buddhism we say, as soon as you put down the butcher's knife, immediately you become a Buddha. That's a saying in Mahayana Buddhism. So even when you butcher, as soon as you put down butcher's knife, you can immediately become a Buddha. But if you're a butcher and you kill a cow, a goat, or a chicken in Tantrayana, with the snap of the finger, you can send that cow, pig, goat, chicken, bardo delivered. And by killing them, you actually help them and let them have attainments to be reborn in the Pure Lands. So sometimes Grandmaster's eating at a restaurant, and they saw a number of shaved monks and nuns having meals, and the waitress immediately said, we don't have vegetarian food here. And instead I replied, only vegetarian food we don't eat. And the waitress asked, where are you from? What kind of monks and nuns are you? Sorry, we came from Foguangsan.
I say 佛光山，但是没有讲出来啦，那是讲笑的，讲给大家笑的。
It's just kidding. Of course, I don't say that. How dare I say those?
人家那么大的宗派，
That's such a huge religious group. How dare I say something like that? That's just kidding.
所以我们这个真正有成就的，
So the one with true attainments,
一弹
with Om Ahom and a snap of the fingers,
他就真的是
those spirits were being delivered.
有一次，
I remember one time,
有几个人跟我一起吃饭，
a number of people were dining together,
人走过来，
and someone had a psychic
我看见，
and
我说你看见什么？
walked by and
你
said,
所吃的东西呀，
"Ja,
全部升
I
天。
saw that all that you ate, they all went to heavens."
就是那一家餐馆，我不能讲他的名字，
That
因为一讲出来
restaurant.
就等于帮他的餐馆宣传。
I cannot say the name of the restaurant, otherwise I would be advertising it.
但是同气的举手，
But anyone
同
that
气的
accompany,
在场的
please raise your hand.
都听到。那个人讲说，
People that are present heard
看
that.
到你，
That person said,
看到你这个
Master, I saw that the food you ate, they all went to heaven.
但是还有一堆人在你面前跪着，
But there's still a group of people kneeling in front of
没
you.
办法升天，也
They
没
could not
没
go
办
to
法
heavens,
吃你的供养的东西，
and they couldn't eat the offering that you made.
被你提醒。
Oh, it reminded me. When I took a look, it turned out that they're from the hungry ghost realm.
恶鬼道的还爬在那里，
They're still there. They could not eat
因为一张食物到口，
because when the food reached their mouth, it evaporated.
比那个木建连的妈妈好一点。
It's slightly better than Mahamauglana's mother. Mahamauglana went to hell to save his mother, and he took food to his mother. And when the food entered into her mouth, it became a flaming ash that the mother cried out in pain. So Mahamauglana returned and asked Buddha that your merit alone is not enough. You have to find a group of Sangha together performing blessings to your mother. Only then she would be able to take in food in the hungry ghost realm. So that became the ceremony of the Yilanpan. And this is because of Mahamauglana wanted to save his mother, requested a huge group of Sangha to save her. So I thought, oh, now I have a way. Because at that time I just taught the Dharma practice of Pindolu and asking Pindolu to invite the 16 great arhats that's living in the Saha world, and with myself, which is Sariputra, Mahamauglana, Pindolu, and Purana, and all the great arhats, the 16 great arhats and Sariputra, to bless the beings from the hungry ghost realm together, and then finally, eventually, they were delivered to the higher realm. So anyone with true attainments can do anything. But the one without attainment, or for the ordinary beings, whatever you do, that is karma. That's why spiritual attainment is extremely important. That in the future we all should become the high adepts of the great perfection Dharma, the doctrine attainers. So anyone with a true attainment is different. They can do anything, and ordinary people cannot do anything. Everything is karma. But what the attainer does is that there's no so-called karma or no karma, good karma or bad karma. It's just like the clear sky. Doesn't matter what he does, whether it's good or bad, it's non-recorded. It's unrecorded. So that's why swiftly he can transcend, so that everything is just like the clouds or the mist, and the clouds and the mists can all disappear. So even when there's like a smoke and or clouds of mist or all that, although they sometimes appeared, but eventually they all would disappear. So what is this concept? Because he is a high adept with no mind. So the great perfection doctrine taught you is to be like a clear sky that symbolizes the Buddha nature, the empty nature. They intrinsically exist. If you can comprehend this clear sky, everything else can disappear. So in spiritual cultivation of great perfection, is you need to focus on the clear sky and to transform your own mind to become clear sky. Even when there are dark clouds or hails or snowing, storms, rains, anything, you saw those, but what you saw actually is the clear sky, and your mind is always like the clear sky, and you're abiding in the clear sky, and you have no bondage whatsoever, no strings whatsoever, and this is the highest fifth instruction of great perfection Dharma.
有一名记者问3个国家的人民，请问你们对世界
There is a journalist that asks the citizens of 3 countries, so do you have personal opinions about the lack of human rights, lack of or lack of food. And someone from Iberia said, I don't know what food is. And American said, I don't know, I don't understand what lacking is. And the Singaporean said, I don't understand about personal opinion. So that's kind of like a custom in different countries. So whatever country we live in, we can cultivate spiritually. It doesn't matter where we live. Whichever country we belong to, we can cultivate spiritually. Because for spiritual cultivators, they're all the same, doesn't matter what countries you're from. Like in True Buddha school, We have people from all over the world, even from the Ivory Coast, in the South African Republic of South Africa, and many other countries, any countries. After the son got home, he was very happy and told everyone, today in class, that the teacher said that a kid took the milk of a hippopotamus and gained 20 kilos in a month. And the dad said, nonsense. Which kid drinks such milk? Oh, it's the kid of the hippopotamus. So everyone is different. Every country is different. And the man and the woman are different. But the result of spiritual cultivation, and some is fast, some is slowly, some have obstructions, some has obscurations. It doesn't matter. As long as you're truly committed, has very strong faith toward the Buddha Dharma of the lineage root Guru, if you have strong commitment toward Buddha Dharma, doesn't matter whether you're fast or slow, you would have attainments all the same. Some people have to have more demonic obstructions, like Grandmaster. Grandmaster had a lot of challenges, but Grandmaster has a very strong faith toward Buddha Dharma, and I have extremely strong faith toward my gurus. That's why I would definitely have attainments. If you have no faith, forget it. Faith is the first condition, and strong commitment to spiritual cultivation is the first qualification. And without those, just forget it. There is no use for anything else, and you will not have any attainment. This is why an astronaut in America was training in an Indiana and the Indians asked, what are they doing? And they said they are going to fly to the moon. And the Indians were gathering and discussing and asked the astronaut to take a note to the beings in the moon. And the astronaut agreed. And the Indian chef wrote a note for the astronaut and was written using Indian scripts. And the astronaut was really curious and wanting to know what's written in the note and asked someone to translate it. And what's in the note is that please do not believe this messenger because they come to colonize, to invade you. So Grandmaster is telling everyone that Buddha nature is equal, and there isn't anything to be attacked. That in the future, when you have attainments, so when you truly comprehend your Buddha nature, is the attainment for everything, and nobody would be able to rob it from you or take it away from you. Nobody can take away your attainments. Whether you have attainments or not, you would know it for yourself. And in your mind, you would be very clear. inside you, you would be able to confirm your own Buddha nature, and you would know that this Buddha nature is definitely cannot be taken away by anyone. And that's the explanation in the Great Perfection Dharma too. Nobody added anything to you, and nobody can take away anything from you, because that was the originally intrinsically your own Buddha nature that you already have all along. A customer is very angry and try to find a waitress in the KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and said, you know, this chicken legs that I have is only half the size of the chicken legs eaten on the next table. And the waiter asked, so what's the big deal? Are you going to eat them or you want to dance with them? That's not bad, because whatever that you can own is just like that. It is all equal, with no differences at all. So Buddha nature is completely equal, with no differences. The only difference is that whether you recognize it or not, whether you can confirm it or not. If you can recognize what Buddha nature is, then your attainment is eternal. It would not be half the Buddha nature of others. The others' Buddha nature is longer and mine is shorter. No, they are all equal, with no differences at all. That's the most important thing about Buddha nature. Bao Gong and total Zhan Zao. Can you do something just based on my look? And this attendant asked, because Bao Gong's face is always dark and black, and asks, what other color do you have? And this is also Chinese terms. Bao Gong is also called Bao Qing Tian. These days it is extremely difficult to find Bao Qing Tian. All we find is Bao Hei Tian. It's just a joke. Bao Qing Tian. Please note that people are with black face, but if you step by step clearing your karma, or maybe not even a bit by bit, it's like a great perfection Dharma. It's like when it's completely dark inside your house, no sunlight and no any light, and then you bring in a lit candle, then your house would become lighted. So it doesn't matter how many karma you have, with one light you would be able to see your own Buddha nature. So your Buddha nature was the radiance. As soon as you see the radiant Buddha nature, immediately you can eliminate your habitual tendencies, your afflictions, your karma. So great perfection Dharma has such power that with one light it would become all radiant, although the house had been dark for hundreds of years and you could not see a thing before. So we were all with a dark face before, but As long as you have the light of the great perfection Dharma entering into your body, the dark room immediately, and you would immediately be able to eradicate all the darkness, the afflictions, the habitual tendencies, the karma, everything would be able to be eliminated completely. That's the great perfection Dharma. So, Dokjen or great perfection Dharma and Mahamudra are very similar, but there are also some differences in the practice methods. So cultivate the best you can according to the great perfection Dharma, that everyone would be able to recognize and confirm our own Buddha nature. It would be like a light entering into the dark room, and immediately you would be able to understand everything. Om Mani Padme Hum.